conversion to Christianity. And if you don't know who he is, he's most famous for creating Narnia. And here's a quote by him where he says, "Though our feelings come and go, God's love for us does not." And it's by me, Andy, Nico, and Thomas.
I did Early Life of C.S. Lewis, and I have a couple pictures on here. This is like a book written about him, and this is actually a book he wrote. It's called Mirror to Christianity, and this is the latest picture, the youngest picture online they have of him. He's about like 5 or 6 years old. That's when he's older. And this famous quote from him is, "I believe in Christianity as I believe that the sun has risen, not only because I see it, but because by it I see everything else." Which basically means if God wasn't real, nothing would exist. And here's some facts about him. He was born November 29th, 1898 in Belfast, Ireland. And he died November 24th, 1963 in Oxford, England. And he was an Irish novelist, and he was best known for his essays and literature and his explanations of Christ's Christian teachings. His father was A.J. Lewis, and he was a lawyer. His mother was Flora August Hamilton Lewis. She was an expert mathematician, and she died when C.S. Lewis was about like 4 years old, and she died of cancer. C.S. Lewis's family was actually pretty high class, because C.S. Lewis's mom's dad was a minister, and when C.S. Lewis was 4 years old, he told his parents that he wanted to be called Jack. So all throughout his life, they recognized him as Jack. His best friend was his brother Warren, and Jack, or C.S. Lewis, went to Malvern College for a year. It was a boarding school in England, and he continued his education for under a tutor, because after he went to college he dropped out only for a year, and he went to a tutor, W.T. Kirkpatrick, former headmaster, principal at the Lurson College. He, after 1 year of college, he went into the war, and he got wounded, so that caused him coming back to Oxford, and he was then appointed lecturer at University College in 1924. And later on, he married a woman named Joy David Grenchen. She was a daughter of a New York couple, a Jewish couple, and he became a professor of English at Cambridge University, England, in 1954. And down here, I just have a timeline of his early life, and it basically was just the facts I said, and that's early life.
I had C.S. Lewis's accomplishments, and obviously, he was born in England, and he graduated from the University of Oxford, and with high grades and a focus on literature and classic philosophy, which he graduated with high grades. Before he went to college, he fought in the trenches in World War I in France. And Christianity was a big part of his life. He gave highly popular broadcast of Christianity, which actually converted many people to Christianity. And he wrote many books. which won the Rotundi Prize, which is a very prestigious book award. And he also wrote the Chronicles of Narnia, which I don't know if you know this, but it didn't really win any awards. It was actually really get really bad reviews from a lot of writers and stuff because a lot of people kind of took it the wrong way. But it's like one of the most read books ever, and they made a movie series about it and a TV series, so it was very popular. And he also became a professor in the chair of medieval and Renaissance literature at Cambridge University. This is where he met his wife, and his wife died in 1960, and he shortly retired after she died because he had heart trouble.
C.S. Lewis, this is his Christian life, how he related to Christianity. Well, he was born into a Christian family, and they actually belonged to the Church of Ireland. However, at the age of 15, right around our age, he became an atheist, and he later quoted in his autobiography that he was mad at God for not existing, which is kind of contradictory, but gradually, in his adult life, he was influenced by his good friend J.R.R. Tolkien, who is actually the author of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, so a lot of his work is very popular now in movies. However, he struggled to fully embrace God up until the exact moment of his conversion to theism in 1929, which is at the age of 31. And he said up until then, even right before then, he really just wouldn't embrace God until he fully converted. And he eventually converted to the Church of England, which is the logo is pictured here, 2 years later in 1931. He was a devout Anglican up until his death in 1964. He went to Mass and he achieved a lot of the sacraments. His writings included many Christian beliefs, and probably the most popular of that is the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and how the lion, Aslan, is pretty much an exact representation of Jesus Christ, how people are awaiting his arrival, and then eventually he's put to death. And then his book, Mere Christianity, is basically about his experience with Christianity and a lot of his opinions about the religion.
Right, here's a timeline of his entire life, so you can see the date that everything happened. So in 1898, he was born on November 29th in Belfast, Northern Ireland, and his real name is Clive Staples Lewis. And then in 1913, he enters Malvern College. In 1917, he begins his studies at Malvern, and it's in Oxford. In 1919, in 1919, he returns to college from the military because he was wounded, and publishes his first book, Spirits in Bondage. In 1929, he confesses that God is God, which is him, coming, not being an atheist anymore and believing in religion. And so in 1931, he officially converts to Christianity. In 1939, he publishes Out of the Silent Planet, which was the first book of trilogy, and I guess it was a popular thing. In 1940, he had the first meeting of the Inklings was held, which was this famous liturgy meeting about books and stuff, and J.R.R. Tolkien was part of it and everything. And he also publishes The Problem of Pain. In 1942, he publishes the Screw Tape Letters. In 1945, he publishes The Great Divorce. In 1950, he publishes The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is the first book of Narnia, the Narnia series. In 1952, he publishes Mere Christianity, which was like a popular book about Christianity. In 1955, he leaves Oxford for professorship of medieval and Renaissance literature at Magdalen College in Cambridge. In 1956, he publishes Till We Have Faces, which he considered his favorite fictional book. And he also publishes The Last Battle, which is the final book in the Narnia series. And he marries his wife, Joy Davidman Gresham, who he had been talking to for a bunch of years. They finally married her. In 1960, she dies on July 13th, July 13th. And in 1963, he passes away in Oxford, England, at the age of 64 on November 22nd, which was the same day that JFK died. And
That's it for us. Thank you.
Questions?
Questions? I have one question.
Yeah.
What's the, should we study this guy? What's the importance of him, or is there any importance to him?
I think there's importance to him because it shows how someone who really didn't believe in God and how much God became such a big part of his life throughout his thing, and it sort of shows, I guess it's kind of how God really helps us in our life and stuff.
He's best known for spreading his teachings
and
of
spreads his
Christianity.
teaching Christianity.
And if he never would have met his wife if he didn't have his writings, because originally his wife was believed Jewish or something, and she did not like that religion, and she started going to church and reading his writings, and she got divorced 2 or 3 times, and then she finally, after reading a lot of his writings, they finally got married.
All right, giddy up!